What's up, Pursuit Youth? Happy first week of March. We are so excited that it is a new month. I don't know about you guys, but as a single person, I'm so happy February is over. But it was a great month in the life of our youth ministry. And if you didn't know, we celebrated love in a lot of different ways. So to sort of kick off March, we're gonna take a quick look back at February with a round of trivia. But this trivia is all about our 4 wonderful creative expressions of what is love. So the first question is, which one of the following are not one of the 5 love languages as explained by our senior girls? 1, or A, gifts. B, words of affirmation. C, giving money to the poor. Or is it D, quality time? You've got 5 seconds. Timer starts now. Yell out your guess. If you guessed C, giving money to the poor, you are correct. That is not one of the 5 love languages. Bonus point, if you can name all 5 in your head right now or out loud, you get 1,000 points. All right, next question. Question number 2. What story did the senior boys illustrate through Minecraft? A, Jesus' death and resurrection. B, the prodigal son. C, parable of the 4 talents. Or is it D, Noah's Ark? 5 seconds. Yell it out once you got it. If you're alone in your room, yell it out anyways. If you guessed B, the prodigal son, you are correct. It was a great demonstration as narrated by Hewan of the prodigal son. Question number 3. Which is not a line from the Junior Boys rap song? A, pen game like I just swallowed an M&M. B, you're the goat if we're speaking in the past tense. C, Jesus is the homie like Kylie is to Stormy. Or is it D, you may be vaping that's leading to bleeding? What's it gonna be? 5 seconds. Go. If you guessed C, Jesus is the homie like Kylie is to Stormy, unfortunately, that is correct. That is the line that is not from the Junior Boys' awesome rap song. All right, last question, last but not least, question number 4. What inspired the Junior Girls to make their hit song, Lover's License? Was it A, Buena, B, Olivia Rodrigo, C, Jesus, or D, all of the above? 5 seconds. If you guessed D, you are correct. Tally up your score. I hope you did good on this episode of trivia. And we are now going to tune in to our God story and the Word. So we're really excited for what God's going to speak to us today. Hope you have some fun.
Have you heard of the South Dakota teenager who saved his school from a mass shooting? The quick action of Chris Eriks prevented a Columbine-like tragedy from happening in his school. On September 11, 1991, 17-year-old Ryan Harris entered Stevens High School in Rapid City, South Dakota, walked into his math class, demanded that the teacher leave, and he held 22 of his schoolmates, including Eriks, hostage with a 12-gauge sawed-off shotgun. For 4 hours, the students cowered, while Ryan demanded pizza, cigarettes, $1 million, and a helicopter getaway over the public address system, emphasizing each order by firing his weapon into the classroom. He shot at the chalkboard, the ceiling, the window, making it clear that he would leave no survivors. But then, for one moment, Harris put his gun down and Eric lunged for it. Harris, realizing his mistake, jumped at the shotgun too, and the pair struggled for control. Eriks, however, won the tug of war, and the gunman was overpowered. Chris Eriks had the courage to do what he did to bring the situation to a close. Police Captain Christopher Grant told the Rapid City Journal in 2011. When he went for Harris's gun, Chris Eriks could have lost his life, but he did it anyway, and as a result, he ended up saving his entire school from a mass shooting. This brings us to today's feature on courage. Not all that glitters is gold, and Daniel's three friends, Shandrack, Meshack, and Abednego, knew that. So when King Nebuchadnezzar had a golden statue of himself built and issued a decree that when all kinds of music was played, everyone had to bow down and worship the statue, they refused to do so. The punishment for such disobedience was being thrown into the fiery furnace. In fact, everyone else, people from different nations and languages, all obeyed and bowed down to the golden statue whenever they heard the music. Of course, men who were jealous of Shandrack, Meshack, and Abednego maliciously reported them to the king. In verse 13 of Daniel chapter 3, it says, "Furious with rage, Nebuchadnezzar summoned them. So these men were brought before the king, and Nebuchadnezzar said to them, 'Is it true, Shandrack, Meshack, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the image of gold I have set up? Now when you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, if you are ready to fall down and worship the image I made, very good. But if you do not worship it, you will be thrown immediately into a blazing furnace. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand?' Shandrack, Meshack, and Abednego replied to him, 'King Nebuchadnezzar, we don't need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he doesn't, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up.' These three young men had no assurance that God would save their lives, but they were determined to be loyal to him anyway. Courage is continuing to do the right thing, even when you don't know what the outcome will be. Nebuchadnezzar was enraged even more by their response, so he had the fiery furnace heated 7 times hotter. He ordered the strongest men in his army to tie up Shandrack, Meshack, and Abednego and throw them in. The furnace was so hot that the soldiers who threw them in burned to death. Nebuchadnezzar was shocked to see that the 3 young men were not consumed by the blazing flames. They were not consumed by the fire. In fact, he saw a 4th person in the furnace whom he described as someone like a son of the gods. An angel of God had joined them. In verse 26 of the same chapter, Nebuchadnezzar then approached the opening of the blazing furnace and shouted, "Shandrack, Meshack, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here." So Shandrack, Meshack, and Abednego came out of the fire, and the satraps, prefects, governors, and royal advisors crowded around them. They saw that the fire had not harmed their bodies, nor was a hair of their heads singed. Their robes were not scorched, and there was no smell of fire on them. Then Nebuchadnezzar said, "Praise be to the God of Shandrack, Meshack, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants. They trusted in him and defied the king's command, and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own God." Then the king promoted Shandrack, Meshack, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Courage is continuing to do the right thing, even when you don't know what the outcome will be. In this instance, these 3 young men were not only saved by God, but they brought glory to him, and they were honored and promoted by King Nebuchadnezzar. Courageous friends also help us stay courageous. These 3 young guys hung out with Daniel, and together they persevered and stood strong in a culture against God. Who do you hang out with? Do they support you in fighting for God's values? Or do they easily blend into the world's expectations like everyone else did in Babylon? Do you persevere when it seems that your courage is not being rewarded? Do you recall an instance when you did something courageous and you were surprised with a blessing in the end? 2 Timothy 1:7 says, God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. God's spirit in you can help you stick with him no matter what. The book of Daniel ends with a reminder that courage is praying and fasting persistently for others when there is no hope left. As mentioned last week, Daniel persistently prayed even when it was illegal to do so. What we didn't talk about was what he was praying for. In Daniel 9, he was praying to ask God for forgiveness for his nation of Israel and asking his favor to be restored to them. He was waiting for Israel to return from captivity and be restored to their land. God then sent Angel Gabriel to show Daniel that God was listening and he was going to respond to his questions. God even revealed secrets to Daniel about the end of time. So courage is praying and fasting persistently for others when there is no hope left. Do you pray consistently for matters you can't control? Do you pray for your friends, family, and nation? In challenging times, persevere in prayer, and God will draw near to you to reassure you of his care and concern. This world needs our prayers, and God will back us up. In conclusion, God rewards those who stick with him courageously. God honored Daniel's faithfulness with promotion, not only in these powerful human kingdoms, but in God's kingdom. He was told, "You shall rest and will arise to your inheritance at the end of days." God also told him that those who are wise will shine like the stars forever and ever. Daniel was assured of an eternal glory. Daniel and his friends stood out among people who gave in to the norm because they persevered in their courage. They didn't give up. You can also persevere and be courageous in the face of an anti-God culture that is trying to strip you of your faith. I encourage you to read the Bible for yourself and find wisdom and inspiration from Bible characters such as Daniel, Shandrack, Meshack, and Abednego. Remember, God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. 2 Timothy 1:7. God's spirit in you can help you stick with him no matter what. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a great week and enjoy your day.